Hello there, people of the internet. I was asked to give my opinion about replica guns, and I could have swore that I made a video on replica firearms before, but I was not able to find it. And that led me to think that maybe I filmed it and it got lost or something happened, because whenever I went to check the channel, sure enough, I did not have any videos of replica firearms up on my channel. So, I guess I'm going to sit back and film myself one. So my opinion of replica guns, there's a bunch of different, I don't want to call them categories, I'd call them like tiers. A bunch of different tiers of what I would consider replica guns. There's replicas that don't even fire, that are used just for like representation purposes. And there's replicas that are distinctly different from the originals based off of, say, modern ammunition that are easier to fire than the originals. There's replicas that are just so, like the originals are so rare and hard to find or overly expensive that the replica gun becomes a good, viable option. And then there's replica guns out there that are just like clones of whatever it is that we're talking about. What's a good example? This is a good example now that I'm staring it down. This is a Yugoslavian Mauser. This is a 2447. I think that's a designation. A 2447 Yugoslavian Mauser, chambered in 8mm Mauser. Normally, whenever people think of the 8mm Mauser Kar 98 style of rifle, they're thinking of the German Kar 98. Unfortunately, nowadays, those are stupidly expensive rifles. They're very, very hard to find any real good deal on. Typically, if you can pick up one of those rifles for less than $1,000, you're doing pretty gosh darn well. But if you want the experience of just shooting a Kar 98 style of rifle, there's a lot of different styles out there that kind of mimic the same sort of Kar 98 style of rifle, so you get that same experience with being able to shoot something like that, like this Yugoslavian Mauser, or there's a couple of, say, Spanish Mausers, or I know there's Czechoslovakian Mausers, there's quite a few Mexican Mausers, now that I think about it. Those are almost like direct copies depending on what it is that we're talking about. But bottom line, these right here can be got for a lot less money. Like finding a Yugoslavian Mauser, you know, for $400 out there on the market is not an uncommon occurrence, and it gives you the opportunity to be able to go out and enjoy the same style of rifle that you originally are looking for without having to go break the bank. So as far as being a replica gun, I wouldn't exactly call it a replica of a Kar 98. It's more like a spin-off version, not an exact clone, but a spin-off version of the Kar 98, to the point to where you basically get the same experience. Alright, on top of that, I had also mentioned firearms being ridiculously expensive or hard to find. This is a replica of a Sturmgewehr STG-44, and this one right here is chambered in 22 long rifle because 8mm Kurtz is damn near unobtainium, if I'm being honest nowadays. Nowadays, it's basically something that you cannot obtain. Not only that, but this right here is just a straight blowback system, and the materials inside of it really are not all that good, and as a result, these right here are very inexpensive. A 22 long rifle STG-44, you can find one of these for like $400 out there on the market. They're pretty gosh darn easy to come across, and whereas you don't get the full experience of properly enjoying the STG-44 with an intermediate caliber cartridge, you still get the experience of being able to handle something that is pretty gosh darn similar, not only in weight but in functionality as well, and you can even take it out and make it send some lead down range. This particular one is actually quite accurate. This one's made by GSG, but there's a couple of different companies out there that make them. But that is a good representation of a replica gun that is just something that you're not going to be able to find much of anything of nowadays. This is another example of a replica firearm. This is one of those that does not actually shoot. This is an 1860 Henry, and unfortunately 1860 Henrys are stupidly, prohibitively expensive. I have a YouTube channel where I sit down and I talk about all sorts of things with all sorts of history, so having a representation for an 1860 Henry does me pretty gosh darn well. The thing is, if I want to go out and get myself an actual 1860 Henry, like chambered in 44 Henry rimfire, like an original one, you're looking at probably about $30,000 to $50,000 depending on condition. So that's not gonna happen. Or I can go out and get myself a modern-made one for probably about $1,500 to $2,500 depending on what company I go with, and then a few other factors that go into that. But bottom line, they're very, very expensive versus something like this where I can sit here in this chair and talk about the 1860 Henry just fine, go through history and show off even the mechanics of the rifle if I felt like it. We got our elevator system, we got our fire control systems and whatnot. We got basically everything that we need here. We even have the spring-loaded magazine in the event that I wanted to show you guys that. But I picked this up, I think, at a pawn shop for like $100 a couple of years ago. I saw this thing, I was like, ooh, boy, that's coming home with me. I'm gonna make some videos on that. As a matter of fact, I think it would be fun to kind of convert this thing to be able to fire. It's certainly not going to handle smokeless powder, but I bet I could probably sleeve a barrel in there and get it firing black powder. I'm probably not going to do that, though. That's a lot of work. The amount of time and effort I'd spend doing that, I'd probably just go out and get myself an 1860 Henry, like one of the new production ones. But that's a good example of being able to get something for a lot less money to still be able to do whatever it is that I'm needing to do on camera. Granted, I can't take it out to actually shoot it, but, well, to be honest, I'm not really doing much shooting nowadays anyway. Not as much as I would like. I've got this right here, which isn't necessarily a replica or a clone. It's more of a... I'd call it an inspired build. It's not quite a copy, but this is clearly an M16 inspired build. It is close enough to an M16 model to where people can see it and identify it as an M16. We got ourselves a 20-round magazine inside of this bad boy. We got some A1 furniture. Well, there's a bunch of stuff going on with this. We got some A1 stuff, we got some A2 stuff, we got some A4 stuff going on. We got a lot of weird things going on with this. Like, anyone who actually knows what they're looking at, they're like, wow, that is the worst looking M16 I've ever seen. But then anyone who doesn't necessarily know enough about the M16 to be able to clearly identify all of the little things, they're like, oh, that's actually pretty gosh darn cool. This guy's got an M16, and that's pretty identifiable from the carry handle. Granted, it is a detachable carry handle, but it is a carry handle nonetheless. But this right here is a KP15 lower and a PSA upper. And I basically built it out using whatever it is that I had laying around. And so as a result of that, although it is not a direct replica, it does give me enough of an experience with an M16 rifle. It's like a hybrid of all sorts of M16 stuff, but it gives me enough of an experience with the M16 rifle for me to be able to adequately enjoy the M16 rifle. And then there's things like this if we're talking about replicas. I'm sure that this right here is probably what most people think of whenever they think of a replica. This is an M1 carbine, however it is you want to pronounce that. And it is chambered in .30 caliber carbine. The thing is, this was made in the 1990s. This is not an original carbine. This right here was made by IAI, I think. Yeah, IAI, and I can't remember who that is. But it's 90s production, and I mean, it works well enough for video purposes. I wouldn't exactly trust my life to this particular one just because of how many malfunctions it has, and we have some issues with the magazine well, and that's why I got the tape on the magazine itself, and I gotta swap out some parts in this thing. The sights are way too crooked on this thing for my liking, and I'm zeroed at 300 yards, and that zeroes me at 100 yards, so I guess I'm just stuck with a 100-yard zero, because that's as high as they go. But bottom line, as far as replica guns go, I don't necessarily see the appeal unless you're getting them for significantly cheaper than what you would get an actual one for. And the thing is, with M1 carbine replicas, or say M1 Grand replicas, or M1As, although you can't really go out and get an M14 nowadays, but with replica guns that are replicating some sort of historically significant firearm, like the M1 carbine, for example, they tend to not be all that much cheaper than just going out and getting yourself a proper military-made one, and that's one of the big kickers of these things. The only reason why I picked up this one was because I had a, what's the word I'm looking for here? I was just so happened to be inside of the gun store that I would normally frequent back whenever I picked this up, and they had it on the wall for consignment, and it was, the guy was charging $600 for the thing, and I was like, I've never seen an M1 carbine for under $1,000, so that's coming home with me. I don't care about the make, manufacturer, or anything like that. I don't care how reliable it is, as long as it shoots at all, I'm happy. And so I brought it home, and I made a bunch of videos with it, and to this day, it sits on my wall. It's kind of a safe queen, though, because it's in really, really nice condition. Even though it is a replica, it's still in really, really nice condition. Well, there you guys go. Whole video of me discussing replica firearms. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. If we're looking at just my opinion, I mean, it depends on a gun-by-gun basis. I mean, we can't compare a .22 long rifle Sturmgewehr to a real Sturmgewehr. The real Sturmgewehr is going to blow it out of the water. We can't compare, say, a M16A1 to my amalgamation build here. We can't compare an actual firing 1860 Henry to my representation rifle here. We can't compare, like, there's just all sorts of things that we simply cannot compare. It all depends on, you know, it's a case-by-case thing. Hey, is this replica gun any good? How expensive is it? How expensive would it be to get just a real one of what it is that you're looking for? Is it way more expensive to get the real one, like the Sturmgewehr? Is it really, really rare and uncommon to find those? I don't know. There's so many things that go into the ideas of what you would look for when buying a replica firearm. So it's a case-by-case thing. So, alright, I already did the outro. I guess I did that right. Yeah, I think I did. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.